I checked his police file last night and it's all easily provable if I told the big bosses.
Oh, please don't.
I doubt Craig would even deny it if they asked. He's still really struggling with the guilt of it all.
What do you want?
Nothing from you anymore. If you decide to do anything with that video, I'll have your boy's career quicker than you can say. Sad 80s throwback.
Talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
Hello and welcome to episode 321 of The Talk of the Street, an unofficial Coronation Street catch-up podcast that will treat you like you're a queen, give you strawberries and cream, and then your friends will all go green for my lasagna. I'm Gavin.
Every week I have something, and then what you say just kind of knocks me for a loop.
Do you know what that is?
No, but now I'm hungry for Italian food.
Okay, that'll do. The lyrics from one of my favourite Oasis songs, Digsy's Dinner.
I thought you didn't care about the Oasis reunion.
I'm trying to get on the bandwagon with it being Manchester and all that sort of stuff, and lots of corrie, cast and alum are expressing interests in getting their hands on tickets, but you know what? They're as likely to get a ticket as anybody else. Right.
And that ticket is as likely to get cancelled the second the two of them get on stage together as anyone else. The day that this was announced, The Independent kind of went nuts with articles about it, including one with a supposed music expert who said that this was going to be bigger than Taylor Swift's Eras tour. And I'm like, honey.
Do you know, maybe in the UK it will be.
But just...
I don't know why we have to compare one with the other, though.
Right, no. Especially, these two old guys with... a young woman who's very smart with the way that she runs her empire at this point. But it's like you're comparing this comeback tour to a tour that went all over the world and was seen by billions of people, including people in movie theaters, because there was a movie theatrical release of the concert with two dudes who aren't even leaving the United Kingdom, except for Ireland. They'll go to Ireland, of course. But, they're going to be on two tiny islands, and that's it. So mathematically, it's impossible for it to be bigger than the Eras tour.
Well, here's me saying, why do we have to compare the two? And you spent 5 minutes doing that.
Right, because I was going to do it anyway.
Oh, okay.
And you interrupted me. Because
I saw a gap and I took it, which is basically how I've been living for the past 12 years.
Shut up.
I would say...
Don't get me wrong. I love Oasis.
Oh, now who's interrupting whom?
No, I just want to make sure everybody is aware. I am...
Because we will get letters.
We're right, exactly. I am a fan of Oasis's music. But, What's the Story, Morning Glory is like a great album. I made a spoof song about Wonderwall for Thanksgiving. So, Butterball.
Oh, no.
Yeah. It's like, you gave me a look like you'd forgotten it.
No, I gave you a look like I was trying to forget it.
So it's not that. It's more like these elderly musical critics who seem to think that the Oasis tour gives them permission to bash Taylor Swift.
Oh, we're going back to that again. We've moved on from that.
Okay, now you can continue.
I liked Definitely Maybe, and I liked What's the Story, Morning Glory, and I think that's it. Mm-hmm. I think it was diminishing returns after that. Mm-hmm. Well, they had one album that came out in their later years that was better than the others. Uh-huh. And I was on the Oasis side of the fence when it came to Oasis versus Blur to win Britpop. Who's going to win Britpop? And I was watching a documentary about that.
Isn't there a third option?
And because Blur won it.
Yeah.
In the singles, I think it was Country House versus Roll With It, I think.
Which is
and
unfair.
Country House won, and Graham Coxon, the guitarist from Blur, apparently nearly threw himself out of a window in the after party because this was not why he decided to make music for a living. So
nobody does.
So that an Oompa song could be at number one in the charts. And I thought that kind of put it into perspective. However, I not want to yuck anybody's yum who's very excited about Oasis. But I just thought I'd put a little tribute, although everything that we've kind of said afterwards has been a kind of anti-tribute, but I thought I'd put a little tribute in my intro.
And let's be honest, if they were coming to America, we'd probably at least look into tickets.
We'd think about it. If it was seated.
It's going to be seated. It's a bunch of old Gen Xers like us. We need our seats.
It does bring kind of very bad traits out in people, like people like us who are moaning on Twitter that some young girl who likes Wonderwall and that's it's going to get a ticket over them.
Yeah, fuck you.
Since when have you gate-kept Oasis?
Oh, people are shitty about kids liking music all the time. Do you know how many times Stelly has worn like her Foreigner t-shirt? I'm just using Foreigner as an example because she's wearing her Foreigner t-shirt today. And like weird old guys will accuse her of not knowing a single Foreigner song. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
she does know Foreigner songs.
She knows quite a few Foreigner songs.
Oh well. Anyway, how are you this week?
Yeah, I'm good. The auction's going great.
Auction talk, yeah, kids.
Yeah, the Spider-Man comic book is up to $300.
Oh, nice.
So I'm quite pleased with that. Hopefully it gets up to $500, which was my estimate for the minimum, but $300 is nothing to sniff at in this economy for a Spider-Man comic book.
Right.
For a single Spider-Man comic book. I'm going to be on my friend Steven's Bucks on the Bookshelf radio show again next Saturday.
Oh, fun.
The day before the auction closes. I'm going to be calling into his radio show this week to kind of just do a preview, a sneak peek, because he's already got a guest for this week. And yeah, that will be fun. It's always fun. I love talking about books and stuff.
Everyone listening to this knows that.
Yeah, and we're working on a new auction, and it's funny that we were talking about Manchester because I was evaluating a first edition of the James Dean Mutant King biography. And I couldn't help thinking about our pal, our Mancurian pal down at Payne's, who moved to Gas City, Indiana.
As you do.
Because that's where James Dean is from.
Shall we preamble, my dear?
Yes, please.
Give us some of that Beatles ripoff. Corrie News.
Oh, ouch!
I say it with love.
And here I thought I was being harsh. Christopher Harper, who played groomer and rapist Nathan, has left the show and claims he will never go back. And already has a new gig on the stage in the play Art. Yeah, he's right. Because he's like, this is a character who does not deserve any sort of forgiveness arc or any arc, and he shouldn't be coming back over and over and over again. So, of course, he said, I'm never going back. And then, like, 5 minutes later, he said, of course, you can never say never. But
I don't think he was brought back for a redemption arc, was he? He was brought back to get kicked him out a little bit more.
Right, yeah, and then sent back to prison. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which means, if he's already left the show, you know what this means. It means we're never going to see him get any sort of confrontation with the people who put him who framed him for this. There isn't going to be any more of this. And this is something that you were like, well, can we get back to the Nathan stuff, please? Because he's been wrongfully charged in this particular case.
Well, what happened this week kind of seems to draw a line under an awful lot of it for now anyway.
Yes, unfortunately. I don't watch EastEnders, but apparently there was a little dig at Corrie during the Sonia Fowler prison storyline this past week when a character made mention of free Sonia t-shirts. A possible snark after everyone but us got free Roy Cropper t-shirts earlier this year. And finally.
See, we're outside the tent pissing in. And that's my way that I've chosen to look at it.
And finally.
I would have worn that t-shirt if they'd sent me it.
We would have made an Instagram post both wearing it and tagging the show and promoting the show wearing our free Roy Cropper t-shirts.
We're not bitter about this.
We're not.
Except
we
you
are.
sound like you're maybe exceptionally bitter about it. But I want a puffer jacket. Send me a Corrie puffer jacket and I'll be quite happy.
All I'm saying is, once upon a time, we sent a t-shirt to the show.
Well, this is true.
It's only fair that we get 2 t-shirts back. And finally, Barbara Knox took to the stage at Manchester Pride to sing We'll Meet Again with drag queen Belinda Scandal, who has more than a passing resemblance to our Rita, and it was fabulous. And the wee dear was in tears the way that everybody was cheering and clapping for her. And
they loved her.
They loved her because she is lovely. She is a lovely human being. News at 11. Barbara Knox, lovely human being.
There we go.
Dancing on stage with drag queens at the age of 90. Yeah, and that's Corrie News.
She doesn't give a fuck. And that's Corrie News.
I love her to death.
And that leads us seamlessly into our feedback section that I like to call Everyone's a Critic. Weathy on YouTube wrote this week, I think explaining the Hugo Beth joke is funny.
Well, then he should be married to you.
There's something a little special coming up for you a little bit later, Weathy. I'm not going to say what it is. You can maybe guess. I'm not going to say what it is.
Well, at least it's the last time you'll explain the joke.
I said, well, that makes 2 of us. No, right. Snow wrote in again a little too late to make the show last week. So this is a last week comment. Moment of the year. Big Romanian thug punches Ronnie. Ronnie looks at him and says, is that all you've got? Thug runs away. Ah, Ronnie. All the women want him and all the men want to be him.
And some of the men also want him. Yes. And I'm sure there's a woman or 2 who wants to be him. I don't judge.
I think what we can just take from all this is more Ronnie, please.
More Ronnie.
We need more Debbie and we need more Ronnie.
We need to have more scenes of them being deplorable with one another.
They're not really deplorable.
Well, you know what I mean.
Often.
Yeah, I would like to see more of it.
There's some hints of it.
Because they're adorable.
Debbie has hungry eyes every now and again.
They're so cute. They have great chemistry. And you can't say that about every couple that comes across on Coronation Street, can you?
Now, I'm going to resist the temptation to clear my throat and say somebody's name.
Probably for the best.
Then Caroline writes, it's Caroline from the Gold Coast, Australia here again. I'm just wondering if you noticed when Joel and Dee Dee were talking in the Rovers on Monday, the 19th of August, over their hot pot, about 17 minutes into the episode. Joel mentioned PC Blondie, and I'm wondering if his little comment was a wink wink nod nod to your good selves and your amazing work. I was waiting all week for your podcast only to discover that it wasn't mentioned, but I do hope it was intended for you both.
I thought we did mention it.
We talked about it before we started recording.
I could have sworn we brought it up again. When...
No, we didn't.
Yeah.
As Caroline has just pointed out.
Caroline, we did notice. And we are waiting for our writer's credit as we speak.
We do tend to notice...
Because it's happened a couple of times.
And we're very...
And not just with PC Blondie. There have been a couple of other times that things that we've said... DS Blondie. But there's been a couple of other times that things we've said show up on the show.
Well, they've said the talk of the street a couple of times, which...
Right.
I don't know if that... It's a phrase that people say. So.
Right, yes. And it is helpful for writing our theme tune.
But very helpful. Thank you, Mikey North.
Yes.
But there was that London mention that was definitely a reaction to the London.
Why do you say it like
meme
that?
Thing. There was that one, and then there was Shona saying it, then just
laughing for no reason.
Exactly, for absolutely no reason.
Because she has brain damage from being shot in the stomach.
Yeah. I tend to downplay it. You tend to upplay it.
Right, because
and we balance ourselves out.
Because you're British and I'm American.
Right. And I also have crushing self-esteem issues. Feedback is always...
So do I!
You hide them better. Feedback is always welcome. Send us your thoughts and I will probably read them out. Get us at thetalkofthestreet@gmail.com or our DMs are open at Corrie Podcast. Please note that we reserve the right to edit feedback, but only, come on, only in the interest of
Only in
brevity.
the interest.
And now, let's podcast for coffee. Thank you to Aussie Ali for our coffees this week.
Aussie Ali!
Yep.
Oi, oi, oi! I hope that's not offensive.
Yeah, I feel like I should maybe apologise for that, just to be on the safe side.
As long as it's not ray gun.
Aussie Ali was super generous.
Oh, that's very nice.
Super generous.
Super generous, as most Australians are known to be.
Aussie Ali writes, "A little love from down under, but not like that." And already,
I love her.
absolutely. More Swain chat equals more coffee. Loving the podcast. I'm from Australia and don't know anyone else who watches, so appreciate the banter each week. Well, hey,
we have another Australian
we've
person.
got Caroline from the Gold Coast.
Yes.
That's right next door.
Yes. So that's 2 Aussies. They should get together and have some coffee. And some shrimp on the Barbie.
Oh, no.
I know, they call them prawns down there.
No, I think they call them shrimps.
No, they call them prawns.
No, I think they call them shrimps. Because it is shrimps in the Barbie.
Yeah. But I think they do that for us. Not when they're talking to one another. It's like when they claim to drink Foster's.
None of this is, I think, endearing us any further to anybody in Australia.
You know how they claim to drink Foster's? Only so that we will buy it and drink it?
Now, I've only been to Australia once in my life.
And I've never been.
And it was a schooner of Toyah's New that was my tipple of choice.
Uh-huh.
I don't think I knew anybody who drank Foster's either.
No.
It was Toyah's or Toyah's New.
Yeah. It's not like Ireland where everybody really does drink Guinness.
Yeah.
Of course, they drink it warm.
No, they don't.
Yeah, they do.
No, they don't.
They do in Dublin.
They maybe did. They don't do that anymore. Nobody drinks warm Guinness. You drink it ice cold now. Anyway, we're drifting. Aussie Ali
Thanks
has
a
written...
lot, climate change.
Aussie Ali has written this lovely email.
Okay, well, read it, please.
I was listening to another Corrie podcast, but you guys have won me over with the 3 S's. Swain, swearing, and shitting on Billy and Daniel. I've been watching some old episodes, and Gav, I'm surprised that you've let Helen off the hook for being oh so wrong about Joel. You were on it from day one, and she wasn't having any of it. That's my recollection of it.
Do you recall when I turned and finally said that you might be right about this?
I remember that happening.
Yeah, it was when he seemed to be very cagey about taking a pro bono sexual abuse case.
Has Helen started listening to you about Swarla? It's so happening. I'm going to throw a theory out there on Joel's downfall. The July 15th episode showed Joel having a moment in his car when Evelyn tapped on his window to offer some advice. As she leaves, she passes Carla in the precinct car park just before she doors that kid. Carla and Joel have extremely similar looking cars, and Betsy is the only witness to the dooring. Betsy can pin it on Joel, Evelyn can place him there at the same time. It is enough to get the cops into his car where they may find Lauren's necklace, hopefully with a spot of blood that can link him to the attack. Thanks again for all your great work. From Aussie Alley.
Yeah, that's an interesting theory. However, that necklace is long gone.
Yeah, where is it? I was trying to think of where we saw it the last time. I remember seeing it in his hand when Hope gave it back to him.
I think that is the last time we see it.
Was it?
Except in flashbacks.
Because they really do have very similar cars.
Right. And I don't think anybody is denying... Well, he's denying that he blotted her. Mm-hmm. But, you know, and it seems to be this whole he said, she said bullshit.
Right.
Yeah.
And that seems to be the end of it. But Joel drives a kind of silvery looking
color.
Merc, and Carla's got the same kind of colour Audi.
Yeah.
And they're the same shape.
Yeah.
And the two scenes with Evelyn knocking on Joel's window and Carla adoring that kid were very close together, like they wanted you to notice this. I didn't notice it because I was too busy thinking about the dents that didn't appear in Carla's door. Anyway, thank you so much, Aussie Alley. We really appreciate it.
Yes. It's not a knife. It's a knife. All right, I'm done now. And I'm very, very sorry.
Don't be surprised if none of this makes the cut. Don't be sending me no emails or texts saying, oh, don't you cut that bit out. The Talk of the Street is and will always be free on your podcast provider and on the YouTubes. But if you think our show is worth anything more than the time it takes to listen to it, if you want to show your appreciation like Aussie Alley did, you can buy us next week's coffee by going to ko-fi.com, that's ko-fi.com/The Talk of the Street. You can also sign up to be a friend of the podcast through the same link, where for as little as $2 a month, you can get a mention in the closing credits of each and every episode. And we now have a Patreon site where you can also show us some love and sign up to be a friend of the podcast there, patreon.com/The Talk of the Street. And I'm just going to say it's been a while since I've used this button.
Friend of the podcast.
It goes on just a little too long.
A little too long.
It's deliberately just a
Just
little
too long. Yeah.
It outstays its welcome.
It does.
Ever so slightly.
Just slightly.
Remember, you can always support the podcast for free and get us in front of new listeners by liking, subscribing,
Oh, you're not
rating.
going to say who our new friend of the podcast is?
We don't have one.
Then
I'm
why
just saying it's been a while since I've hit that button.
Oh, so you're trying to push some people that way.
This is my attempts at enticing.
Right. This is your passive aggressive side popping up in front of our listeners.
Yep. It's finally happened.
It has.
You can always support the podcast for free and get us in front of new listeners by liking, subscribing, rating and reviewing wherever you get your podcasts. And to be honest, that's the most important thing.
Yes.
Alrighty.
Yes. And don't forget, we are also on Blue Sky. I know a lot of British people are now on Blue Sky because Twitter just got a little too racist for them. So look for us on Blue Sky too, because videos is coming to Blue Sky soon.
Beautifully done.
Thank you.
And it's now banned in Brazil. Shall we dive in, my dear?
Yells, please.
Twitter, that is.
Yes, Twitter.
Our first storyline tonight is reality coding bites.
Do we have many Brazilian listeners?
I don't think so.
Okay.
With Leanne and Sam due back later today, Nick and Toyah are being kind of lovey-dovey for the last time. Once Leanne's back, this must stop, says Toyah. Nick reluctantly
Then you shouldn't have started.
agrees. I know, exactly. Well, stop stroking the back of his head and smooching him.
Seriously.
But when they're off for a romantic drive, Leanne and Sam have got an earlier flight. I don't know how people on the show are always able to do this, get flights that are 10 hours earlier than their scheduled flight
Right.
to come back and surprise people.
You said scheduled.
Schedule. Leanne heads to the bistro and hopes to find a Nick there. Sam goes to Lily's because it's her birthday and we don't see her. Happy birthday, Lily.
Yes, happy birthday, Invisible Lily.
I hope you're getting better at that little soccer trick that you've been working on.
Yeah.
On her way, Leanne runs into Amy and Rowan to arrange the upload today. Leanne is concerned that Amy quit at the bistro, but is happy to hear that she's reconsidering the investment idea and she's very keen to do the upload. Nick and Toyah get home undetected and they're just about to nip off to get their hole when Leanne gets back and she comes into the flat. Nick comes out a little bit flustered with a stiffy, saying that he was fixing Toyah's loose wardrobe door, but not like that.
But exactly like that.
Leanne talks to Nick about Amy leaving thanks to Rowan, and he's horrified to learn that Leanne is back to being 100% behind the Institute bullshit again.
Which is weird. How does that happen when she's been away for a while? Has Rowan been texting her this whole time or something, getting in her ear? Because she had half of a foot out the door the last time.
She said she had her priorities right.
Yeah, which was family.
Mm-hmm.
What, she's seen Peter and Simon, and so now she's like, all right, I've seen my family. I'm done now. Now I'm going to go back to being a crazy person at the Institute.
It was like the writers had wrote that bit about wanting to put family first and then going, oh shit, but we've got a little bit of the storyline still to do, so we better undo all that.
Yeah.
Because when she comes back, she's almost more behind the Institute than she was when she was at the height before she left.
Right. Yeah, it's weird. Makes no sense.
Leanne doesn't care and chucks him out before Amy arrives for the upload. Leanne is in charge of this session. It's the same deal where they get Amy to admit to all her horror stories, but as Leanne gets Amy set and starts talking and whatever, Leanne's shocked to see that Rowan is recording the session on his phone, but she's not shocked enough to say anything about it.
Yeah. Yes. And he's recording without Amy's consent as she's talking very graphically about her rape and her assault and her drugging and all of the rest of the bullshit this show keeps throwing at this poor character.
And she tries to kind of skim over some of it and talk about it in loose, broad terms, but he's very keen to get her to talk specifics through it, which is even creepier.
Yes.
After Amy leaves, Leanne challenges Rowan about this, but he just gives her this upload session is being recorded for training purposes shite, and promises that he deletes them later and her own session wasn't recorded. As this has gone on, Nick tells Toyah that he's had it up to his tits with Leanne in the Institute, so he's going to split up with her, irrespective of Toyah's feelings on the matter. A clean break. Later, Amy speaks to Ken about investing in the Institute again, but he's obviously wary. Tracy tries to talk him round, suggesting that Deirdre would be totally into uploads and malware sessions, and Amy is an adult after all.
Right, and then she seems to confuse the Institute with a yoga studio.
Easily done.
Yeah.
So Ken goes to the pub, speaks to Leanne, gets some more information from her, and finally agrees to release the funds. But we can tell that he's doing this against his better judgment.
And he reads the business plan from Leanne's phone, and you can tell he's not really reading it because he does not zoom in at all on all of this teeny tiny type on Leanne's phone.
Ken's got wonderful eyesight.
He's in his 90s. He does not.
Ken's got wonderful eyesight. So on Wednesday, Amy is excited to learn that the money has hit Ken's account and he'll be sending it on to the Institute later. Later today, she'll own her own business, and this is all the Institute's credit, and she's absolutely made up about this. At the Rape Hotel, Leanne is dressed like a smurf, and she's set up the room for the malware session today. Rowan isn't sure that Amy's ready for it, but Leanne has faith in her. So a blindfolded Amy...
Because she's so very strong.
What a strong woman.
Oh, she's so strong.
Oh,
what
said
a
Helen.
strong woman.
Oh, hi, the new.
I say that an awful lot. I also say oofed and wee.
I've got quite a few people that start saying wee. And a few people that say oofed as well. I'm still working on Fortnite, though.
It's never going to happen.
Never going to happen.
When you say Fortnite, we think video game.
Yeah. So a blindfolded Amy is led into the malware circle of filth, where strangers and Leanne call her a slag and a whore and tell her that she's rubbish at FIFA.
And also that she wanted it. That she was asking for it.
Yeah.
And things to that effect about her rape. And it's like... You know, it was one thing to be calling Leanne a slut and everything because of
her prostitute work.
Her sex work, but it's quite another to speak to a very young woman.
Still a teenager.
who admitted during her upload that she's not hugely comfortable talking about her rape, and say she wanted it and she was asking for it.
So the thing that I saw in a couple of places, and along the lines of how I was thinking about this as well, was they always say everything that you say is just in this room between us. Mm-hmm. And yet all of these people... You end up in a circle with complete strangers shouting your secrets at them. So it's obviously a lie.
Right.
Because they're obviously sharing this with other people.
Yes, with the larger group.
People who we've never seen before who just turn up for this.
Right.
Understandably, Amy isn't impressed by this at all.
No.
And rushes off. Leanne tries to coax her back, says this is just going to make her stronger. This is what we've talked about. But Amy's done with this shite and she leaves. And Leanne is like, what the fuck did I just do? And as they break this news to the group that thanks everybody, but the malware session's been cancelled for the rest of the day.
Right.
One of the women is especially pissed off by this.
She is, and it's hilarious. She's like,
fuck's sake!
I'm missing the Olympics for this.
I got 3 fucking buses to be here. She's so pissed off.
She is so just not into this anymore. I love her.
Oh, and her pal was a little upset, but she was fuming.
It was great. Oh. I love the silent extras on Corrie.
Yeah.
They really work hard for the money.
They do. Rowan is unimpressed that Leanne let her go and is on the phone to Willow straight away. We might have a problem.
Dum dum dum.
At least we know that Willow's not AI then.
Well,
maybe it's hinted that she's real.
Willow may be real, but maybe that walking, talking image on the computer is not the real Willow.
Amy is still distraught when she gets home and tells Ken not to send the money, but the money has been sent already. At the bistro, Leanne admits to Nick and Toyah that the session didn't go well. Amy comes in and tells Leanne that she wants her money back and she can shove the institute up her arse.
Right
up her arse! Nick is shocked to learn that Amy paid money to these pricks. Leanne goes to call Rowan. Steve is fucking furious when he learns what the malware session was about and is almost sick when he learns about AI Oliver.
Yes. And I was like, finally, somebody told poor Steve about AI Oliver.
Right.
How has this not come up yet about his own dead son?
Leanne comes over to tell her that the money is already with the parent company, whatever that means, and is now effectively lost.
Yeah. And nobody seems to know what the name of the parent company is.
The Institute?
What's the parent company of the Institute?
The Big Institute?
The Bigger Institute?
Mr. or Mrs. Institute? I don't know. Steve is now apoplectic with rage, and if Amy hasn't signed anything, which she hasn't, he's off to tell the cops. He accuses Leanne of manipulating Amy and tells her that she's lost the plot. Nick catches the end of this and demands to know exactly what's going on, and when she tells him, Nick is relieved that he didn't hand over any money himself, and Leanne is temporarily fuming and trying to find the moral high ground here that he lied about being turned down by the bank. But it's shaky ground, and she quickly has to stand down as she admits that she was the one who got Amy to invest, not Rowan.
Yeah.
So she's the one that's on the hook for all this.
Yes.
At the cop shop, no one is impressed with Tracy who greenlit this, but Kit tells them there's no criminality here, and the only thing they can do is pursue expensive civil action. Tracy wants blood. Rowan's blood.
Yes.
At home, everyone is blaming Leanne, but Amy thinks Leanne's a victim in this as well and truly believes in the shite that the Institute's selling.
Very astute, Amy.
See,
she is
so smart, so very, very strong, Ellen.
She's so smart, and yet the show allows her to do stupid things.
To allow her to be duped.
Right.
Ken wonders why Leanne didn't invest then. At the Rape Hotel, Rowan is on the phone to Willow asking for advice on how to handle the Amy situation and insisting that he thought it was too soon for the malware session himself, just totally throwing Leanne under the bus.
Yes.
Nick and Tracy come in, and he sticks to the story. The money's with the parent group, and he doesn't have anything to do with the financials. Tracy throws a drink in his face and leaves.
Which is nice. Nick
tells him he doesn't care anymore, and unless Amy gets her fucking money back, he'll get Rowan done for blackmail. Rowan is furious. At home, Leanne still can't be told when Toyah recognises malware session as being just a brainwashing technique. She doesn't appreciate being treated like an idiot and insists that Nick and Toyah have got it wrong about Rowan and the Institute, but when she's left on her own, she looks like she's not quite believing the smell of her own farts anymore. And all the while...
Which is hopeful.
She's dressed as a Smurf.
Yes.
On Friday...
A disco Smurf.
What the fuck was that?
It was more techno Smurf.
Oh, this is a video game. Smurf your whole day long.
Yes.
I've smurfed my whole day long today. I needed to drink some milk at the end of it. Oh, this is a bad idea. Let's move on. On Friday, Tracy is protesting outside the bistro. She spray painted the word thieves
Which
on the
is
wall.
unfair. The bistro is not the Institute.
No.
And Tracy should know that.
She sprayed that on the wall, and she and Amy are going to chat to the Gazette, and apparently on Amy's radio show.
Which I guess is still a thing?
Right, about everything that's been going on, and demands that Leanne does something about it. Audrey, who passes by, just doesn't know how Leanne lives with herself.
It was just so funny when Audrey walks into the bistro and says to Nick and Leanne, you know, I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but you should go outside. And her face is absolutely saying, I am delighted to be the one to tell you this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leanne speaks to Rowan, and he tells her that her number one priority is to make sure that the Institute is protected at all times. Leanne is shocked. Isn't there a cooling off period? Isn't there a way that we can get the money back? Sucks to be Amy, says Rowan, and he reckons that Amy will be well rewarded, and he's surprised that Leanne's loyalty is swaying. He says that they would have returned the money already, but Amy called them criminals on a radio show, so any sign of weakness will make them look guilty, because apparently Rowan listens to university radio.
Right. And also...
Or maybe it's Willow who does that.
And also the whole, oh, we would have returned it. You said beforehand you couldn't return it. So which one is it?
He pressures Leanne into making Amy back all the way down. Later, Tracy is making a loud protest about the bistro in the pub when Leanne comes in and asks to speak to Amy, but Tracy puts the kibosh on that until they get their fucking money back. And that is as far as we get with that story this week.
Yes.
I mean, this was quite good apart from all the bits where Amy believes that the Institute's a great thing.
Right.
Everything else about it was fab.
But, I mean, the fact that the second she's in that malware session, she's like noping out of there. Mm-hmm. And no, granddad, don't send the money. It's like, maybe you should have looked into this Institute a little bit more beforehand.
It's a bit of a secret society by all accounts, and Leanne gave an impression that she's done this with a few people now. Right.
And they're also very vague, because she's like, oh, what is a malware session? And Leanne is very, very vague about it.
As vague as Rowan was to her.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's funny. I've been watching on Netflix a new thing about a different cult called Twin Flames. Have you heard of this one?
I have not.
Yeah, and I think it feels like the Institute is a little bit closer to being Twin Flames than Nexium, so we may never get our tattooed vagina, but
damn it! But good news for Leanne.
Right, yeah, Jane Danson is breathing a sigh of relief this evening.
She's not going to have to sit in the tickle chair for that.
But it's just, I don't know. Where are all these other people coming from?
I recognised the older guy.
Was the older guy at Leanne's malware session?
I think so.
Because it's like, it seems very, and why is Rowan not bothering these people for money? Or is he? And, they claim to have built some of these research centers before, but I've never seen them show a picture of one.
No.
Or a return on investment of one. Just a business plan.
And what does resource center mean anyway?
Nobody knows. Because they're not real. Because this is just Rowan trying to steal money from people.
And how's it going to make money? And how's Amy going to get her money back? This all sounds very pyramid scheme-ish.
Right, yeah. And again, very smart young woman not asking these questions. And also being conned back into giving the money when before she decided not to. Not because of her own intelligence. Not because of her own business savvy. And let's not forget, she's been more or less helping Mary run the flower shop since her mom just flew the coop.
Mm-hmm.
No, she had to have it explained to her by a young man to talk her out of it.
Men. Is there anything we can't do?
Is there anything you can do?
I can do this. I'm doing that thing for you.
You're supposed to wait and do that later.
Okay. I can also do this.
Again, that's meant for later.
Okay. I'm curious that the Nick and Toyah bit didn't really go very much further, but he seemed very keen to just be done with it. He's had enough of Leanne treating her family and friends like this.
Yeah.
And can't really look at Leanne anymore when they're sitting in the pub talking to each other. They're talking calmly. They're not arguing or anything, but he just can't bring himself to look at her.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really wish he would be given the opportunity to sit her down and break up with her.
Properly.
Mm-hmm. That is my wish. I don't think I'm going to get my wish. I think she's going to find out some other way.
She's going to...
And then, yes. And then the damage is done.
And they look like they're sneaking about, which they are.
Yeah.
So...
But also, she's an awful person right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
It is a shame.
It's been a very long journey for Leanne to get as low as she is now, but it's been a downward trajectory for such a long time.
Yeah.
Since Oliver, obviously.
Right, yeah. It did do my heart good, though, to kind of see a bit of realization appear on her face this week.
Yeah, her last look on Wednesday was very much, what on earth have I done?
Yeah.
But whether that's enough or not, it remains to be seen.
But you know what? You know what I'm happiest about? We'll never have to hear Ken drone on about Deirdre's money to Amy ever again.
Right, it's gone. But Ken remembers won 50 grand. I wonder if he's going to right this wrong and give his bonds money to Amy.
How is that righting the wrong? Because
well, it's not really righting the wrong, but it's reimbursing her.
No, maybe. Yeah, we haven't heard much about that.
No, it was mentioned and Cassie overheard it, and then it hasn't been mentioned since.
Yeah. Well, it's because Cassie wasn't on the show this week.
I feel like the 50 grand is there for a Cassie storyline more than it is there for an Amy storyline, even though the sums of money are fairly close.
Correct.
All right, let's move on to our next storyline. Just a few scenes on Monday about this, Helen.
Just a few.
Tyrone's mini-me. On Monday, Doran is already in charge at Tyrone's. Fiz seems to be happy with the situation now that Alina's on the run, but Norfolk have been in touch asking her to do another stint, and she seems to be kind of toying with the idea.
She's not happy. She's exhausted because this kid does not sleep, and she thought she was done with this bullshit.
I think she was happier, though. I think she wasn't angry about it. She kind of felt like she was resigned to it a little bit.
She's exhausted.
I think she'd made her peace with it.
She's too tired to show any other emotion.
She worries how safe they are, which is a valid point.
Can you imagine if, like, a 3-year-old was dropped in our lap tomorrow?
Hasn't your mum done that to us before? It feels like she has.
It's been a while since he's been 3. But just, can you imagine if, against all odds, John had impregnated another person and then dropped his kid on us? Would be a little bit more similar.
No. Because neither one of us would have any connection to that child.
That's true.
Let's not drop scenarios here. I don't think the storyline deserves it.
Let me just say, if somebody dropped a 3-year-old on me right now, I'd be furious.
Yeah.
I am enjoying having very independent children who can get themselves around places on their own.
So later, Hope has managed to get Doran to sleep just as Fiz gets home. Tyrone has taken the day off to look after his kid. What a guy. And he appreciates just how lucky he is with his wee family and his sudden male heir that he's got. And that's as far as we get with that this week. So the whole Alina thing seems to have been resolved by her running away. This is such a flimsy, clumsy story.
Do you really think it's resolved?
Well, for now, in such a flimsy, clumsy way to get Doran into that house.
Here's the thing. We are already in a position where we have 3 villains on the street doing villainous things. We don't need, like, some Romanian tough guys.
Is it just 3?
There's
Joel,
Kit, and Rowan. Who else is there?
I think we've got to add at least Betsy to that, haven't we?
Is she a villain or is she just a misunderstood kid? That's like calling Hope a villain.
Yes. Absolutely.
She just burned a building down. She didn't know what she was doing.
She just a miscarriage and all that. But yeah, that's fine. She's just misunderstood, Helen.
Right, she's just misunderstood.
No, there are way too many baddies.
So we need to get rid of one of the 3 before we can reintroduce Romanian tough guys.
I still worry for Alina's safety. I worry that Doran's flit to Tyrone's is kind of permanent. I do feel that this has been kind of badly cobbled together, and I do feel that it is very much a replay of Natasha and Sam. And as much as I was looking forward to Lena coming back with child in tow,
right,
I kind of hoped it would be playing out a little bit better than this.
Right, and we also were hoping that it would also reintroduce Phil with 3 L's.
Yes, 3 L's? It's been promoted. Just the 2 L's for now.
He's a 3L general now.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on.
In the alphabet army.
No, Helen, let's move on.
In the alphabet army.
Let's move on, I must insist.
Okay, fine.
To our next storyline, which is Hugo Beth. Now, see, what I've done here is I've taken the fashion designer Hugo Boss and I've made a fairly poor play on the last name. Almost saying it like I have a lisp. On Monday, Beth has spent the night...
Are you done? Can I put my headphones back on?
You can hear me perfectly well.
This is almost as bad as when you were singing that song.
Give me my guitar. Give me my guitar for Justin Stockings Rides Again.
No.
Justin Stockings Rides Again. Again.
See, it's not as bad when you're not playing the guitar poorly as well as singing poorly. When you have a beautiful singing voice.
On Monday, Beth has spent the night in Craig's spare room. Speaking to Fiz, she's still looking for work. Speaking of Fiz, nobody was speaking of Fiz.
No, she is speaking to Fiz about still needing work, and Fiz tells her about the thing in the north.
That's right.
Thing.
Fiz mentions the Norfolk factory looking for another manager. But Beth couldn't leave Weatherfield. Yet. Beth meets with Craig and tries to get him to speak to Kirk on her behalf, but Craig points out a pattern of lies about Marco and the bigamy.
Polo!
And Marco...
Polo!
He leaves, and then Izzy comes in and tells Beth that she's seen Sid selling those T-shirts and keeping all the profits for himself. I don't know how Izzy managed to tell that he was keeping all the profits for himself. Meanwhile,
because she's not getting any.
Beth has tracked down Sid and photographs him and Kit exchanging money around the back of a van. At Speed Daal, Kirk tells Fiz and Izzy that he doesn't think he can ever forgive Beth. And later, Beth pounces when
who says that she couldn't forgive Beth?
Kirk tells Fiz and Izzy that he
kind
doesn't
of sounded
think
like
he
you
can
said
ever
Kit.
forgive Beth.
Too many hard K sounding names in the show. It's like the J's. Almost.
Later, Beth pounces when she sees Kit, shows him the photos that she took and demands the
Which
money
is
that she's
stupid.
owed. I know, she's not very good at this.
Stupid.
She wants it tomorrow. So back in the Rovers, Kit starts working on Craig again, getting him drunk and seemingly desperate to learn about Craig's secret with Faye and Emma. As this is going on,
poor old dead Ted.
there's another little sub-storyline here. Where at the Rovers, Kit is inserting himself into Ryan and Daisy's date night, which is fine with Ryan, less so with Daisy. Daisy complains to Daniel about Kit, but Daniel tells her to tread carefully around him. And she repeats her opinion to Jenny, who likes having a copper living at the Rovers, and his rent is needed to pay back Carla.
Never trust a copper there,
suck it
Jenny.
up. Later, Kit has been speaking to Jenny and approaches Daisy about it, apologising for making her feel uncomfortable and assuring her that he'll be moving into Red Bank soon. She is still unimpressed.
Right. And how dare Jenny repeat that?
I know. That's so Jenny, though.
Why do you think that would help, Jenny? Why? What's wrong with you?
Maybe just bring it all out in the open, get them to clear the air, which is what Kit appears to be trying to do.
Right. And also, now he's going to move out and Jenny's going to miss that income.
Mm-hmm. On Wednesday, Kit meets Craig and Nina Rose, and it appears that Craig overshared last night and told him all about dead Ted. Kit pretends that it's no big deal and he was only protecting his loved ones.
Poor old dead Ted. Because we have 2 dead Teds.
Oh, sure. Craig is relieved and he leaves as Beth comes in, and Kit wastes no time and lets Beth know what he knows. Would be a shame if that information got out, wouldn't it? Would be a shame if you told somebody about those T-shirts and I was forced to tell people about Craig.
Yes.
Check mate.
Right. And it's great because you can see by the look on her face, she had no idea.
She had no idea, right?
She had no idea. And Lisa George does a great job.
She does.
In this scene, conveying that.
Let's just say this now. She's been fantastic for the past few weeks in this storyline.
Yes, they finally give her a decent storyline as she's walking out the door.
I know, it's kind of sickening.
Yes.
Daniel sees Beth crying in the community garden later. He assumes this is Kit related and she admits she should have listened to Daniel. She doesn't give any more details, but a passing Kit sees them chatting. In the pub, Kirk is still sad and disappointed in Beth. Maria thinks he looks miserable without her, and love will triumph in the end, she says, because just look at her and Gary. And Nina's Rolls.
Just look at them in their rose gold flat up above in Victoria Tower. Just look at them.
Quote.
Yes.
In Nina's Rolls, Beth is upset too when she gets a text from Kirk asking to meet up. Kit comes in and gives her half of the money that she wanted and needs her just to keep her mouth shut and sling her hook, or PC Tinker becomes just Tinker. So Beth goes to the Rovers and she tearfully apologises to Kirk, and he proposes to her via Peanut.
They snuck Peanut into the Rovers and nobody's furious about this.
No, because Peanut's not a real dog. Beth, though...
No, Peanut, she is a sausage dog.
Knocks him back. She's moving to Norwich to take that job, and she doesn't want Kirk to go with her.
Norwich?
Yeah.
No, it's North Ridge.
No, it's Norwich that's in Norfolk. The factory's in Norwich, which is in Norfolk.
Is Norwich in Norfolk?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Norfolk is the county.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I get confused by British
That's
land
why I'm here.
Things.
It says that he belongs here. Oh, so very close. Beth says that she's leaving tomorrow. Daniel approaches her about this. What am I going to do for a babysitter?
I know, that's so hilarious.
And thinks this is all Kit's doing, but Beth says that she needs a fresh start and tells him just to drop it. Leaving doing the Rovers, Beth is playing the Fresh Start tune to Craig, who is shocked But not particularly upset that his mum's moving away, he claims that he'll miss her. At the bar, Daniel attempts to have a go at Kit, who is absolutely loving this, and claims, I don't know what you're talking about, I've got nothing to do with Beth's departure. Daniel is encouraged to go home by Daisy and Ryan, and it only needs Max to come in here and say something and Daniel's head will fucking explode.
Yes.
Beautiful.
But again, it's a really great scene with what people are saying without words in this scene, because you can tell that Daisy wants Daniel to go, not because she thinks Daniel's in the wrong, but because she's kind of terrified of Kit now.
Right.
And she doesn't say that, but you can tell that that's how she feels by the look on her face. It's great.
Yeah, and as well, I think she sees that Daniel's the antagonist in this brief scene.
Right.
I mean, Kit could be the antagonist in the bigger scene, but
Right.
at the moment in the bar, it's Daniel that's causing the trouble. He needs to go. But it's so funny because Kit knows all the buttons to press him.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a shame about Craig's mum, isn't it? You know, just he doesn't
Yeah.
need to say any of this.
Right. Yeah.
He could just stand there, drink his pint.
And the way he's like, oh, I'm sorry for your kid.
I love it. I fucking love it. Carla, Sean and Izzy arrive to see Beth off, and Carla manages to be nice to Beth and has given her a glowing reference. And then on the other side of it, in the Rovers, Daisy is annoyed at Jenny spilling her guts to Kit yesterday, but is soon distracted when Ryan pops over for a smooch. He has an idea of moving into the Rovers when Kit moves out to Red Bank, but Daisy isn't sure that they'd be in each other's pockets a little too much and kind of puts the kibosh on it.
Right.
Rot-row.
Yes.
On Friday, Beth is standing outside the kebab
Where's
shop
Ryan
flat.
living at the moment?
He's with Carla, I think.
Is he? Because
think.
Bobby is still there.
Bobby!
Phone! And we haven't seen Ryan in Carla's flat. Like when Bobby tried to sneak racist Kelly in, Ryan wasn't there.
We should really know this.
Where is Ryan living?
We can't keep track of him 24 hours a day, Helen. That's the problem. So, Beth is standing outside the kebab shop flat with a cuppa, reminiscing. A passing Craig reckons Kirk deserves better than this, and we see Kirk leave the flat to walk Peanut, or use Peanut as a yo-yo. It's unclear. Craig speaks with Kirk and Nina Rose later, both desperately sad that Beth's leaving. Kirk doesn't plan to be there to wave her off into the black cab to Norfolk. So just at the end of part one, it's Craig, Daniel, Sean and Izzy who are there to see Beth off. And with Kit watching on from the other side of the street, she tearfully gets into the cab and fucks off and out and away from Coronation Street.
But
then Kirk stops the cab to let Beth say cheerio to Peanut. Kirk begs her to stay, but it's no good. She tells him it's not his fault, and then she properly fucks off and out and away from Coronation Street.
Right. And the fact that the Knicker people have sewn her the traditional Knicker people going away gift, which is a cheetah print robe with stars with their faces on them sewn onto the front. It is the tradition of the Knicker people going back centuries.
I'd go further, Helen, and say it's part of Knicker people lore.
Yes. Yes. Yes, I would agree with
There
that.
are cave drawings of Knicker people hunting woolly mammoths to make such a quilt.
Woolly cheetahs.
Yes, the famous woolly cheetah.
Yes, the famous.
The famous woolly cheetah of Weatherfield.
Yes, the famous woolly saber-toothed cheetah
Oh.
of Weatherfield.
That's a game of one-upmanship. Someone's going to have to blink.
And then using butterfly nets to harness the stars to
Oh.
sew onto the robes made from the saber-toothed woolly cheetahs of Weatherfield.
This is a period of the Knicker people lore called brew time.
I thought it was called Hugo time.
That's hammer time. In the pub later, Kirk wonders if this had something to do with the t-shirts. Kit overhears this as Craig comes over, wondering if Sid is behind this and thinking about tracking Sid down. Kit thinks Craig is barking up the wrong tree, but Craig tracks Sid down nonetheless and accuses him of threatening Beth. Sid says that he knows nothing and hasn't seen Beth in weeks, but when Craig leaves, Sid tips off Kit, who's still in the Rovers. He seems to be doing some digging on Kirk and Beth's marriage, or lack thereof, when he buys Kirk a pint, tries to cheer him up, and gets Kirk to admit to the bigamy. Kit thinks this explains a lot and reckons this is a pattern. Bigamists typically reoffend due to boredom, and reckons this explains the T-shirts, the sudden departure, and the Marco thing. Kirk is so thick that he believes it. Later, Craig speaks to Kit about Sid, but Kirk interrupts and starts to explain what is now his theory about Beth loving drama and excitement because of the bigamy. And excitement and drama isn't Kirk. Craig is so thick that he believes that. And that's as far as we get with that this week. This was a better farewell than we've had for some other characters that have happened in the middle, like the middle of part 2.
Yeah.
This happened at least at the end of part 1.
Right.
And had some other storyline attached to it. And we did see her in the cab and coming out the cab and going back into the cab and driving off. But what I didn't like about it was that the cab was still in the shot, about to turn the corner at the bottom of the street, when Kirk and Craig just start chatting.
Oh, no, yes.
Peanut wasn't chatting.
How do you know?
They were just chatting in the middle of the street. It's like, oh, can't we just let Beth go before we have this extended conversation?
Yeah. And we don't see a shot of her looking back tearfully.
No. We do see her tearfully in the cab, though, but not looking back. They've done her wrong.
Yeah, I think so, too. And I think Lisa George is aware of that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I know she's not many people's favourite character.
No.
But I think for what she did, she was great value for money. She was an agitator. And you need agitators in the show.
Right. Yeah. So at least Tracy's come back, because if Tracy was still gone and then Beth left, there really would be no female agitators left in the show. Cassie, maybe. Betsy. Evelyn in a way, but not the way Beth and Tracy are agitators.
Cassie and Betsy are too new to have that
power
kind of effect, yeah. But yeah, it's sad to see her go. And it's sad that they finally give her, like you said, a decent storyline to get her teeth into, to be her farewell. I wish Lisa George nothing but good things.
Yes.
Moving forward. I continue to like the way that Kit operates here. He manages to get little snippets of information that he can use to his benefit.
Yeah, who's he calling to find out about Beth and...
Who knows? But I believe that he knows people.
Yeah. Just like another villain who we will speak of soonish.
So what the fuck does Kirk do now?
I don't know. Maybe we'll get our depression storyline. Maybe this will be the thing that makes him spiral into the depression.
I think his character needs something like that. If not that depression storyline, then he needs something, because he's been rudderless with Beth.
Yeah.
Now that he's without her, he's rudderless and sinking. Yeah.
Yeah. It would have made so much more sense if he had just gone with her.
I know.
There's no reason for him not to go with her. He begs her to let him go with her. They should have just let them both go right into the sunset together.
And she's like, well, no, you don't deserve me. I'm no good for you. Let's talk about that in Norfolk. Just get in the cab, sort it out amongst yourselves. Let's move on then to our next storyline. Bully for you again. At the flat, Dylan is moping about, wondering what he's going to do with his life, while Sean is insisting that he goes back to school or college. He needs to do something. That's a familiar conversation, isn't it, Helen?
It is.
Dylan just wants away from Mason and has plans about going to that London with his mum. Stu sees Mason and Betsy in Nina's roles. He reminds Mason that he has a shift, Dylan's also there, and Betsy, who was threatening Dylan a couple of weeks ago, remember?
Yes, remember that.
Seems to be on good terms with him now.
Yeah, it's weird.
And Mason has dropped his vendetta inexplicably too.
Yes, weird.
Betsy wants to go get her hole off of Mason and has an empty. Mason takes some coaxing because he doesn't want to let Stu down. But he finally
because all
relents.
of a sudden he's a good guy?
Yeah, he's a good guy now. And because a ne'er-do-well criminal is missing his busboy shift, Speed Daal is practically falling apart as a result when Mason doesn't turn up. When he finally does show up, he's shocked to discover how much shit Stu and Yasmin are prepared to hurl at him for being late. When Betsy shows up later, they practically chuck her out, telling Mason that she seems determined to jeopardise his job, so can't be much of a friend. And Mason's like, well, she's not jeopardising my job, and then realises, oh fuck it, is she?
Yeah.
Sean catches wind of Dylan's tentative London plans, and after his initial shock... London! When he learns that Mason hopes to move into the area, Sean promises to speak to Violet for Dylan, who had just made a big song and dance about staying in Weatherfield, and now a few months later wants to leave.
Yeah.
Make up your mind, boy. On Wednesday, Betsy shows up at Speed Daal and finds Mason not in a mood to see her, and he barks at her when she tries to steal some food. Turns out she isn't happy that he's been dinging her texts. He doesn't care and goes to dump her, but she sees it coming and dumps him first and then runs out. Meanwhile, Dylan, who doesn't work at the factory, is at the factory looking for cinema money from Sean. He gets chatting to Betsy and learns that she's now single before Carla throws Dylan out on account of him not working at the fucking factory.
Well done, Carla.
Sean, I love it when Carla realises that people don't work at the factory.
Do you think that's down to us?
No. No, I don't.
Just like them supposedly putting stuff in cups now?
Sean is shocked to learn that Betsy is the offspring of D.S. Swain. Well, it's the last name that gives it away, Sean. At the end of his shift, Mason gets a text and goes off in a mood. He's not impressed when he sees Dylan and Betsy at the bus stop together and tells them they're well suited to each other. Pair of slags. And he storms off. Back at the precinct.
I loved when Sean gets this horrified look on his face because he realizes he's slagged Betsy off to D.S. Swain,
yes,
not knowing that was her daughter.
Yeah, super.
That was hilarious.
Back at the precinct flat, Betsy wonders if there's anything she can do to keep Dylan in Weatherfield. If
you know what I mean.
Turns out there is. So on Friday, after his rummages with Betsy, Dylan isn't in much of a hurry to hit that London anymore. Sean thinks Betsy is bad news, and Dylan doesn't appreciate this interference and storms off. Later in Nina's roles, Swain and Betsy meet up. It seems Betsy has been swinging the lead to get out of work today. Swain is still pissed off that she didn't tell her about Joel, and Betsy takes this to mean that her mum only cares about her work, and then she pisses off. She meets Dylan in the community garden, and when she sees Mason passing, she smooches Dylan's face off. Mason correctly reckons it's all an act and thanks Dylan for taking Betsy off his hands. Meanwhile, Swain has gone into the factory even though she doesn't work at the factory to see if Betsy turned up for work, and she hasn't. Swain worries that she's neglecting Betsy, but Carla tries to talk her around and advises that she speaks to her kid, clears the air, admit to her mistakes.
And she calls her Lisa.
Yes.
And not D.S. Swain.
Which is proper, I think. For them being friends. For now.
You haven't played the Swain music.
Oh, shit.
It's Swain.
I can't believe if I enjoy pressing that button.
I know you do.
Almost as much as I enjoy pressing...
John Doe has the upper hand.
And also...
I've fallen, and I can't get up.
And then there's...
We're sending help immediately, Mrs. Fletcher.
And then there's...
Oak Hill.
Oak Hill. Oak Hill.
Oak Hill.
Oak Hill. Oak Hill. Oak Hill. Oak Hill. Oak Hill. Oak Hill. Oak Hill. Oak Hill. Oak Hill. Oak Hill. Oak Hill. Oak Hill. Oak Hill. Oak Hill. Oak Hill. Oak Hill.
And who could forget?
I think she's going to Oak Hill. That's it.
No. Now that's it.
Betsy goes to Speed Daal to admit to Mason that she still fancies him, but Mason fobs her off. So when the coast is clear, Betsy plants a customer's purse in Mason's jacket pocket. The customer, obviously, is hanging furious about this when she finds that her purse is gone and promises to report Speed Daal to the police and also to write a 1-star review on TripAdvisor.
If the food was good, is that fair?
Good food, possibility of thievery, I guess would be your headline.
Yeah.
When she's gone, Stu asks Mason if he was responsible, and he's pissed that he's been blamed for this and puts his jacket on to go and get some fresh air, but then he finds the purse in his pocket, which he manages to conceal from everybody. Oh, pig's tits, he says. He storms to the community garden to shout at Betsy for planting the purse, and stupidly takes the purse out and waves it in the air.
Right.
Which obviously Stu, who's
in the background,
run after Mason to apologise, sees this from the other side of the street. So when Mason returns from work, Betsy denies all this. So when Mason returns to work, Stu accuses him again. Mason says the purse was in his pocket, but it wasn't him who put it there. Stu doesn't believe it, and at this, the copper that the customer had sent for arrives, or is just hungry for a curry. I'm not sure which.
Yes, and it's infuriating because Stu does the same thing to Mason that he used to do with Eliza when he would make assumptions about wrongdoing and just shout and not let anybody else speak.
Yes.
And then when somebody else finally does get a chance to speak, he shouts more and claims not to believe them and does not want to hear it. And meanwhile, poor Yasmin is in the middle, unable to say anything. And even Mason says to Yasmin, tries to entreat Yasmin. And when he says it, Stu just shouts more. It's like, it's Yasmin's turn to talk because she's clearly uncomfortable with all of this and seems willing to give Mason the benefit of the doubt. And it infuriates me because it makes me sympathize with Mason.
Yes, I'm sympathising with Mason as well.
And it pisses me off.
Against my will.
Against my will, I'm sympathizing with Mason in this and all of the Betsy bullshit. Because he seems to genuinely like his job and at least sort of want to redeem himself a little bit at this point. Yes. I don't know how he got to this point.
No.
When before he wasn't like this.
And 2 weeks ago he wasn't like this.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago he seemed he was like this, and then he had to go at Dylan again.
Right, yeah. And was claiming that Stu was a pedophile.
Well, sure.
So I don't know how we made this jump. The show has not shown us anything. So just like with Racist Kelly, I don't feel like Mason has earned any sort of redemption or sympathy, and yet I sympathize with him.
Yes.
And it infuriates me.
Yes. It looked all the world like Yasmin had a line in that scene that she just wasn't allowed to say. Shelley King's just waiting to say her line and doesn't get a chance to. Because Bill Fellows is going off on one.
Yeah. He just can't stop once he gets going.
I've heard that. Back at the flat, Betsy admits setting Mason up, but didn't reckon the cops would be involved. Dylan wants to come clean, but Betsy's not going for that, saying that Mason's dangerous and prison's the best place for him.
Ouch.
I think she's maybe just about as dangerous. That's as far as we get with that this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the main takeaway from this is how our emotions have been kind of manipulated into feeling sorry for Mason here.
Right, yes. And also very angry at Dylan.
Oh, you're angry at Dylan?
I'm a little angry at Dylan for, thinking with his penis.
Yeah.
Especially since, as you pointed out, Betsy treated him terribly a couple of weeks ago with the whole Mason thing. It's like, I know Sean's your dad, but you should be smarter than this.
Yeah. Dylan, I think, kind of feels like the tables have turned a little bit. That he's got the upper hand here. I don't know that he realises that Betsy is just
playing him
with him because it annoys Mason. I don't think Dylan quite understands that yet.
Yeah, and he should.
At least he's trying to do the right thing, or at least suggesting that they contemplate doing the right thing.
Right? Yeah, because he's like, your mom's a cop, so you'll get a lighter sentence.
And Betsy's like, fuck that.
No
chance.
Fuck that for the pair of tutus.
A game of soldiers, I think is the phrase, isn't it?
Right, yes, but I was trying to think of something that would be funnier.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it worked.
I don't think you found it.
No.
That's your homework for this week.
It's all right. Yeah. I want them to do something with Mason's hair. Because that haircut is terrible and uneven. It looks so bad. It's so distracting.
I feel I feel that I'm on his side in this. And it's just
and you don't want to be.
It's just so weird what a white t-shirt with pink lettering on it does to a guy.
And an apron.
He really does love it. He loves working there. And I think he loves the fact that Stu's given him a chance and had shown some faith in him.
Yeah, Stu and Yasmin.
That's why he's crushed when it appears that both of them are just cut him loose. Justice for Mason. Oh, let's move on before that becomes
I need a
thing.
shower now. And not just because this room is very sweaty.
Our penultimate storyline is Videodrone. On Friday, it's Jack's hearing next week, and Abi and Kev are hoping for leniency for him. Kev gets a call from Adam with an update on the case. It seems a plea bargain has been offered, and this will get a third of the sentence if Jack pleads guilty. And Kev's already got Jack the day off school for this. And it seems that this is just the perfect resolution, but Jack isn't happy. Later, he talks to Abi about it, tells her that he doesn't want people to find out at school. Abi says that they shouldn't find out, but if they do, it's just life. One mistake doesn't define you, she says. It takes 7 mistakes to do that. Mm-hmm. And that's the end of that storyline.
And she says, that's why I did drugs 7 times.
There's a nice wee bit where he's talking about his friend Rich, who pulled a muscle or something in PE, and for a whole year they called him Stitch.
In 5th grade, and people still call him Stitch. Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's because it rhymes.
Yeah.
Yeah, people would have still called him Stitch anyway.
Yeah. Rich the Stitch. It's like your friend. What's his name? Who we've talked about on the show.
Jobby Johnson?
Yes.
Jobby Johnson.
Jobby Johnson.
There's the alliteration thing going there.
Yeah.
Which is very pleasing.
Whatever happened to Jobby Johnson? Do you think he listens to the show?
No. Although, if we do get an email, it better come from jobbyjohnson@gmail.com.
Did you have an unfortunate nickname in school?
People just called me Gav.
That's not really unfortunate, because people call you Gav now.
I know. And then people called me Suave Gav.
They did not.
Mm-hmm. The full title was Suave Gav, King of the Shore.
See, you were fortunate because it was before practically every asshole on television on a sitcom was named Gavin.
Mm-hmm.
So you dodged that bullet. I, unfortunately, was called...
Melons.
Well, yes.
Because of the rhyming thing. And your breasts.
But also Helen Keller.
Oh, yes. Yes.
I'm so glad that my childhood trauma amuses you so much.
Yeah, I wasn't responsible for it.
And I was called Helen Watermelon far before I had breasts.
Yeah.
But yes, that didn't help matters.
No. All right. Let's look forward to Jack's hearing next week and see where that goes. And move on to our final storyline tonight. Frankie goes to Weathy General. On Wednesday, at the law office, Adam is struggling to get Dee Dee focused on their other clients, even if he's as keen as she is to get Joel. In the meantime, he has a new client suing someone in LA, so Dee Dee's knowledge of California contract law may prove useful. The new client comes in and isn't impressed that Dee Dee is a no-show. She was speaking to D.S. Swain about Joel and apologises for missing the meeting, but has already drafted up paperwork for it. And the new client, when they get it, is as thrilled as Adam. On Friday, D.S. Swain is talking to her superior. We see D.S. Swain's boss in an area of the police station we haven't been in before.
It's nice, isn't it?
That's quite nice.
I think we've seen him before.
I don't think we have.
I think we have.
I don't think we have.
I think we have.
I don't think we have. He announces that the Joel and racist Kelly case has been wound up because they've fucked it up good and proper from start to finish.
Right, yes.
And they have no chance of winning based on this evidence.
You've arrested 3 different men for this.
An emotional Swain begs him to change his mind and hopes to get a better statement from racist Kelly, but it makes no difference. The case is closed. Fuck y'all. Meanwhile, racist Kelly goes to see Roy, who finds Nina in a bit of a judgy mood, and she refuses to let him see him.
No.
Is that not what happens?
Nina is kind of just teasing her a little bit because she does apologize to her. And Roy is out.
Yeah, my VPN was playing up at that point, so I'm taking a guess at what happened there, and I seem to have fallen short of the mark.
Yeah, Nina's in a weird mood this week.
Right.
Because there's also that point in another storyline where she's trying to get the goss. And somebody calls her a goss.
Yeah, Tracy.
That would be Tracy, yes. And then when Nick comes in to talk to Tracy about the whole thing, Nina kind of leans in. And it's like, this is not Nina.
Back at the cop shop, Swain breaks the news to Joel, who bursts out laughing.
Yeah, he's such a dick.
This can't look good for you, he says. This is 3 people that you've wrongly arrested for this. And she says, no, only 2.
Yeah.
Swain warns him off Dee Dee and racist Kelly. He asks her how Betsy is, and this triggers Swain. And she's like, if you think I'm a bad parent, you should look at yourself, pal.
Yeah, you tried to kill your baby.
We learn that Daniel has caught wind of the abortion drug stuff, and nothing seems to come of that.
Not yet.
Not yet. Swain breaks the news to racist Kelly and Dee Dee. Racist Kelly takes it badly, blaming herself for not coming back sooner. But Swain says that this is all her fault and admits...
And Joel's.
Yes, and admits to letting racist Kelly down, but promises Joel will live to pay for what he's done. Is this really our only visit to the hospital this week?
I believe so.
Oh my God. When racist Kelly goes back to see Frankie at the hospital, Joel is waiting for her. He's been removed from the visitors list and is furious about this. He reckons that...
Why is he in that room?
He's not in the room with
Frankie.
He's outside.
Yeah.
He reckons that he's got off scot-free and will not let this stand that he can't see his son. He wants to ruin racist Kelly's life the way that she's ruining his.
And yet she hasn't. Although he doesn't have a job anymore, I guess she has kind of ruined it. But that's more down to Dee Dee.
Doesn't have his job anymore, can't get to see Maeve, and now isn't being allowed to see Frankie.
Yeah.
Yeah, his life's fucked. And good. Good, you deserve it, you prick.
Yeah, but he's not in prison yet.
Meanwhile, Swain is at the law office with Dee Dee laying low. Dee Dee checks her phone and sees that Joel's at the hospital on the tramp tracker thing.
With racist Kelly.
Yeah, so shouts to Swain to rush to the Dee Dee mobile. So they go to the hospital. Back at the hospital, Joel reckons that Frankie would have been better off dead rather than having a whore for a mum. And racist Kelly hacking goes for him, looking like she's going to rip his eyes out, but somehow just bloodies his mouth a bit.
Yeah.
He's gone by the time Dee Dee and Swain get there, but he's also made a complaint against racist Kelly, so Swain has to arrest her, but she's quickly let go. After all that business is done, back at the law office, Swain is now curious to know how Dee Dee knew Joel was at the hospital and suspects some tramp tracker business being to blame.
Right, yes, because when they get to the hospital, Dee Dee says very quickly to racist Kelly, I got your text. But then when racist Kelly is in the cop shop giving her statement, she doesn't mention a text. And this sets D.S. Swain's antennae.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Dee Dee says that it was turned on when she and Joel were a couple and when he was away on business. Swain reminds her that this is a criminal behaviour and wants to trust Dee Dee, but she's making it impossible. And she also warns her that things like this are the sort of things that get cases thrown out of court.
Right.
Then she gets a call to let her know that racist Kelly is back at the hospital and allows Dee Dee to go. And Dee Dee says, are we cool? Yeah, okay, we're cool.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, at home, Joel is taking photos of his fat lip and then calls a guy called Gerard, someone who specialises in family law. Have I got a case for you, he says.
Yes.
And that's how we end this week's episodes.
Yes. Yeah, three villains is 3 too many. It would be nice if we could focus on just one of these storylines.
Mm-hmm.
And yet.
Well, we say that. We say that there's too many villains in the show at the moment. But you know what else we say about the show at the moment?
What?
It's been really good. It's been really good for weeks.
It's been really good, but it's been the weeks that have been really good is when they focus on one of these and not all of these.
I don't know if that's true. I feel like we've been kind of nudging all of these storylines on a little bit. Not the Betsy stuff as much, maybe, but
there was no Rowan stuff really last week because Leanne was gone.
Rowan was showing his face, and Nick was basically throwing him out.
Anyway, it just feels like far too much is going on. I appreciate that they kind of weave the whole Kit thing into the whole Joel thing a little bit, but it also feels like having so much of this going on kind of overshadowed Beth's leaving a little bit because we have all of this other stuff going on. So while I enjoyed this week, I don't feel like I enjoyed it quite as much as I've enjoyed other recent weeks.
No, I think that's fair, but I think more or less all the way through the last 6 weeks where we've noticed, or maybe it's even 8 weeks now, where we've noticed this little uptick that these have been the storylines that have been mostly dominant in most, if not all, of these weeks. And I agree, I like the bits where there is some cross-pollination going on from one storyline to the other. This is one of the things that people keep on mentioning as stuff that they've really liked about Coronation Street in the past. All those scenes where you would go into the pub and there's like 3 storylines happening at the same time in the same set, in the same scene, and it just moves from one to the other. But there's also little threads that kind of tie all of the things together, and having that, I think, is a really good device that I think we should be congratulating them on remembering to use, because it works when they do it, or it works when they do it with the right character. And I think Kit is a brilliant character for that.
Kit is very good as a foil for a lot of different things. Because let's remember, he's also got his own family storyline sort of going on as well in the background that we really haven't gotten much of.
Absolutely.
This week or in the past couple of weeks. And I also guess I just kind of wish that we wouldn't see 3 women being traumatized and threatened and bullied by 3 men all in the same week. It just feels... Betsy is kind of a breath of fresh air in that respect, because at least when it comes to her and Mason, she's doing the bullying and the threatening, which kind of, lessens the trauma done to Amy and to Beth and to racist Kelly.
Just random thoughts on Twitter said something along these lines, that Corrie's got a habit at the moment of taking really strong, fiery women and then over time weakening them. And the show has always been about strong women, and it doesn't seem to do this to the male characters.
No.
We've seen that play out a little bit this week, where Amy being a good example for her storyline, because Helen, I don't know if you've noticed, but Amy's a really strong woman. So
strong. So very strong.
And until she isn't.
Right, yeah. Just like she's very smart until she isn't. Mm-hmm. And that's, well, I feel like the Beth storyline was done very well. That's another thing that really kind of bothers me about it, because Beth is a really strong woman who does not take shit from anyone. And yet, this tall, dark stranger shows up and starts threatening her, and she leaves.
Yeah.
Without any pushback. And also, without any pushback except for a really stupid way of threatening him in the beginning.
Yeah, where she shows her cards immediately.
Right, yeah, which is not something that Beth would do.
Yeah, if this was a storyline from last year, Beth would find a way to get the upper hand on the cop.
She would have her cards very close to her chest.
And she'd be doing the whole 4D chess, thinking 2 moves ahead sort of thing. But she didn't, Because this has gone, from her storyline anyway, it's not really gone from 0 to 100, but it's gone from being kind of nothing that's going to suggest that it's going to end this way to her leaving in less than 3 hours of television.
Right, yeah.
And not in a storyline that is getting a huge amount of airtime all the time.
Right, exactly.
She's just very quickly been outmaneuvered a couple of times and that's it.
Yeah.
And then she's gone.
Right. And then with the Joel storyline, we have three smart, brilliant women. Well, 2.5 smart, brilliant women and racist Kelly.
Sure.
Allowing this villain who's not exactly that bright. Because I don't think Joel is that smart because he keeps doing that shouty thing in his car.
Yes.
Which just
keeps on putting Slayer's Seasons in the Abyss on to cover his screams.
Yeah, and then just going full caveman. And for this to work on Racist Kelly is one thing. For it to work on Racist Kelly and D.S. Swain and Dee Dee is just infuriating.
Yeah, that was the bit that I really didn't like, is when Joel starts to laugh. Although I liked the laughing bit.
Right.
The maniacal laugh was great. But when he points out that she's arrested 3 people wrongly now,
right,
it's like, oh, I don't like having that pointed out.
Yeah,
because that's not the Swain that we fell in love with.
Right, exactly, and that was my problem when she did arrest Roy, and what seemed insistent on pinning this on Roy because there were so many red flags that this was definitely not Roy that she just kind of ignored because she didn't, and it didn't seem like she was trying to find someone else to accuse, and there are so many things that we are aware of that these characters should be aware of. Like Dee Dee at this point should have remembered that package because it was really unusual and it just happened.
Yeah.
The day before Racist Kelly went into labor.
Why wouldn't she be thinking about all the weird things Joel's done?
Right.
And if she's not capable of doing it, then why hasn't Michael said it? Because Michael was very suspicious of this as well.
Right. And why, if there was suspicion that Joel possibly is the one who drugged Racist Kelly, why was that flat not searched? Because I'm sure that box is still in the garbage.
Or soup still in the bowl.
Right. Yeah. It's like all of these procedures that would have been done in an investigation have not been done. And it just makes these women look stupid. And I don't like that.
And again, these are the things that we love about these characters when they're introduced. We love Dee Dee because of her smarts.
Right.
And the show was wise enough to get rid of the whole ditzy thing pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And the thing about Swain was...
But then they made her a not good cook like her mum.
Yeah. God, don't get me started. And then Swain being one who follows her nose to the truth and doesn't care
right
about who she upsets to get to the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I don't know, I guess when you've got your feet under the table a little bit more, it becomes more difficult to maintain that position and still be a character that delivers drama.
Right, and giving her a daughter weakens that as well.
Mm-hmm.
She knows that Joel has threatened her daughter, but she has not brought it up as evidence in all of this because she has to protect her daughter.
Right.
From being accused.
Yeah, because the mentions of it this week were really the first time that the two of them have really talked about it since it was revealed.
And it complicates things and she would be taken off the case.
Yeah. Although now there isn't a case, so... Oh well, Joel's obviously going for custody of Frankie, which is just so weird. From a position of wanting to kill his unborn child to now wanting custody, I guess.
Right. Well, he doesn't want it. Mm-hmm. He just wants to hurt Racist Kelly.
Yeah,
he's already said that point blank.
Yes.
It makes me wonder if he'll go after custody of Maeve as well.
All right. Yeah. Phoning this guy could be for both of them.
Right. Yeah. Because, yes, the divorce is over. But that doesn't mean that he can't call a custody hearing at a later date to get the custody changed. We learned that from Kramer versus Kramer.
And who knows what juice he's got on his ex-wife.
Right, exactly.
Oh well, good stuff. That was the week that was Coronation Street. Helen, tell me, what was your moment of the week this week?
The gift of the knicker people.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
It was beautiful.
I know, it's just seeing heritage just on show like that.
Yeah.
It just makes you kind of proud a little bit.
Yes.
You can feel pride for someone else's heritage, I think.
Yes.
Just nice to see.
Yes, it is.
All right, that's our
moment of the week.
Moment of the week.
Our boring moment of the week.
Ken pretending to read a business plan on a smartphone without his glasses.
You know what I saw pointed out? And this is something that I'm kicking myself for, because this is definitely something that I should have noticed. If you have a look at Ken's hi-fi, the graphic equalizer is everything's pushed down. It's just bass. That's all he's listening to. And he's listening to classical music, to Debussy. Are we really saying that Ken's going to listen to Debussy with everything on his graphic equalizer pushed down?
Well, then they are obviously piping that music in and not actually having a mic on that Wi-Fi. Or that hi-fi.
A MIDI hi-fi.
Yeah.
Remember MIDI hi-fis? I used to love my MIDI hi-fi. Sorry, your boring moment of the week was Ken pretending to read?
Ken pretending to read a business plan on a smartphone.
In a pub in 5 minutes.
In the dark. Yes, in a darkened pub.
Well, somebody pokes him with a stick.
Well, the shades are drawn.
That's our
boring moment of the week.
He's 90. He needs his glasses. And one of those smartphones that has the big buttons.
Yeah. So we've upset Australians and the elderly this week. Good job, Helen.
Hey, I had nothing but praise for Barbara Knox dancing with drag queens.
That's true. So at this point in the show, we talk about the thoughts of our following several on Twitter when I ask, what do you think of this week's offerings on Corrie? And I give people 3 choices. Yay, meh, or zzz. And for the last couple of months, it's been fairly positive. This week, zzz got 20.3%, meh got 26.6%, and yes won again, 53.2%.
That's lower than last week, though. Last week it was like 60.
Let me see what last week was. I think last week was...
yeah, go ahead. Don't believe me.
No, because last week was just 50. So it's better this week. So I'm right not to believe you. This is what happens when I believe you.
I thought for sure it was like 60% last week.
No.
I'm not on Twitter because it's full of Nazis.
Which is neither here nor there. So yeah, 53.2%, slightly above last week's score. But do you know what? We never let these results influence our own scores, Helen. So tell me, what score are you going to give the show out of 10 this week?
Yeah, I'm only going to give it a 6 this week.
Really? That's a meh. You're giving it a meh this week.
I don't know if that's necessarily a meh. It's still above middle.
I think a 1, 2, or 3 is a zzz. A 4, 5, 6 is a meh. And a 7, 8, 9, 10 is a...
Yeah, because as I said, it's... So much of the drama and the entertainment is the threatening of women, and especially strong female characters who should not be cowed by anyone, written in a way that makes them seem a bit foolish.
Yeah.
I tire of this.
I liked it overall.
And I'm also very mad that they made me sympathize with Mason.
I'm not happy about that. I'm
No.
not happy with Beth's exit, but I think I am happy with the way that the show panned out other than that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm going to give it a 7, which is a lower score than I gave it last week. But I was still quite impressed with that. I enjoyed it this week.
Okay.
All right. Well, that about wraps it up then for another week. This episode was brought to you with thanks to our friends of the podcast: Daisy, French Ellen, Pickles, DT, Trisha, Wendy, Noel, Canadian Helen, Christy, Shandy, English Victoria, Aurora Yvonne, Heather Westerfield, Russell Whiting, Jackie B, and Brittany Porter.
And you.
And thank you, everyone. And thank you for Pickles in particular, who, through some accounting snafu, dropped off last week, but is back this week. In fact, is back this week, so I'm going to say we have a...
There you go.
Friend of the podcast.
Welcome back, Pickles.
Welcome back, Pickles. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back.
Take a seat. It's like you never left.
Yes.
If you've ever
pretended to read something on your cell phone when actually you really needed your glasses.
Right, and to tell us about it, we're the Talk of the Street at gmail.com, and we're at Corrie Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. You can shout me and Helen a coffee or become a friend of the podcast by heading to ko-fi.com, that's ko-fi.com/the Talk of the Street, or patreon.com/the Talk of the Street. Check out voggle.co.uk for links to our merch store, YouTube channel, and blog. And if you're so inclined, please leave a rating and a review on the iTunes or your podcast provider of choice. And be sure to check out our pop culture sister podcast, The List of Lists.
Adam Sandler is a good actor, but he is not a good comedian. Discuss!
Thanks for making it to the end of another episode, and we will be back next week with more
I'll Talk of the Street.
Talk of the Street.
Bye.
Cheerio.